The boardroom was silent except for the faint hum of the air conditioner. James Whittaker, the once unshakable CEO of Whittaker Enterprises, sat at the head of the polished mahogany table in his wheelchair, staring at the stack of papers in front of him. His body, once tall and commanding, now felt like a prison. A car accident months ago had left him paralyzed from the waist down, and though his doctors assured him he could live a full life, he didn't feel alive at all. He felt half a man, broken, angry, and useless. He had been making harsh decisions since the accident, cutting costs, firing long-serving employees, and lashing out at anyone who reminded him of his frailty. Today was supposed to be another one of those days. His assistant had placed a termination file in front of him, the janitor, Samuel. James didn't even know what Samuel looked like. To him, a janitor was just someone pushing a mop, invisible and unimportant in the grand machinery of his empire. But when James looked up, Samuel was already in the room. He was older than James expected, with silver streaks in his hair and calloused hands that told a lifetime of work. His uniform was clean, though faded at the seams, and there was a humility about him that felt almost out of place in a building filled with power suits and sharp tongues. Samuel wasn't trembling in fear like most employees did when called to the CEO's office. Instead, his eyes carried a calm warmth. "Mr. Whittaker," Samuel said softly, standing with his cap in hand. "I heard you wanted to see me." James stiffened. "Yes. You've been a broken bar under review. The company is making changes. We don't need as many staff in maintenance anymore. Your position is being terminated." The words were cold, rehearsed. James had said similar things countless times. But for some reason, as they hung in the air, they felt heavier this time. Samuel nodded slowly, no anger, no protest. "I see. If that's what you think is best, sir." James frowned. Most people begged, argued, or stormed out. Samuel did none of those. He just stood, quietly accepting the blow. "Don't you care?" James snapped, his bitterness bubbling to the surface. "You're losing your job. Don't you have anything to say?" Samuel looked at him with eyes that seemed to see right past the wheelchair, past the arrogance, into the wounded man beneath. "I've seen worse days, Mr. Whittaker. If today means I must walk away, then I'll do it with peace in my heart. Because this company gave me a chance when I needed one. That means more than any paycheck." James opened his mouth to retort, but before he could, the door to the boardroom creaked open. A small figure peeked in. Lily, James's 12-year-old daughter. "Daddy," she whispered, clutching a sketchbook to her chest. "Are you busy?" James's hard expression softened. Lily was his light, the only thing keeping him from collapsing entirely. She stepped into the room, her hair tied in a messy braid, her wide eyes curious as they landed on Samuel. "Oh," she said softly. "Hi." Samuel gave her a kind smile. "Hello, miss." James cleared his throat. "Lily, this isn't a good time." But Lily didn't retreat. She walked right up to her father's wheelchair, kneeling beside him. Her voice dropped to a whisper, but in the silence of the room, both men heard it clearly. "Daddy," she said, her small hand resting on his arm. "Don't fire him. Please. He's not just a janitor. I've seen him. He helps people. He helped me." James blinked. "What do you mean?" Lily's eyes shimmered. "Last week, I fell outside by the garden, and no one saw me. I scraped my knee and was crying, but Samuel came. He cleaned my wound with his own handkerchief and told me not to be afraid. He said kindness is the strongest medicine in the world. And I felt better. Not just my knee a broken bar but here." She placed her hand over her heart. Samuel shifted uncomfortably, as if embarrassed by the recognition. "It was nothing, sir." Any man would have done the same. But Lily shook her head fiercely. "Not everyone does. Most people walk by." "You didn't." James felt something stir in his chest, something he hadn't felt in months. Guilt, yes, but also a faint spark of hope. He looked at Samuel differently now, not as just the janitor, but as a man who had quietly carried goodness into a world that often ignored it. Lily leaned closer to her father, her voice trembling but filled with conviction. "Dad, your broken bar, I will heal you. Not just your legs, your heart. But I need you to let people like him stay. We need kindness around us." The words cut through James's walls like sunlight piercing through clouds. He swallowed hard, blinking back the sting in his eyes. He realized that his daughter, barely more than a child, saw the truth he had forgotten, that strength wasn't only in power or control, but in compassion. For a long moment, James said nothing. Then, with a voice quieter than he intended, he spoke. "Samuel, a broken bar, I was wrong. You're not fired." Samuel's eyes widened slightly, then softened again, gratitude flickering across his face. "Thank you, sir." But Lily wasn't done. She looked between the two men, her small voice carrying a weight far beyond her years. "Maybe you can help heal each other. Daddy needs someone to remind him that life isn't over. And Samuel, a broken bar, maybe you need someone to believe in you, too." The silence that followed wasn't heavier, it was healing. For the first time in months, James felt like he could breathe again. That day marked the beginning of something unexpected. Samuel stayed on, not just as a janitor but as a quiet mentor in the halls of Whitaker Enterprises. Employees noticed the change in the shah. He listened more, smiled more, even asked after their families. And when people wondered what had caused the transformation, the answer was always whispered the same way. It wasn't a business strategy. It wasn't therapy. It was a little girl's faith, a janitor's kindness, and a paralyzed man's decision to let both heal him. Because sometimes, the greatest power isn't found in the corner office or the boardroom. It's found in the smallest acts of humanity that remind us what it truly means to be alive.